You'd think checking a bag is the easy part of flying. You just drop it off, grab your boarding pass, and you're good to go, right? Well, not exactly. Because once your suitcase disappears behind that rubber curtain, it enters a world you never see. A maze of conveyor belts, cargo holds, and sudden pressure shifts. 100 strangers will handle it before it gets back to you. If it gets back to you. And in 2025, things move even faster. Rules change quicker. One small mistake can send your bag to the wrong city. Or it could spill your clothes all over the floor of a Boeing 737 that smells like dog pee and jet fuel. Yes, that really happens. So if you think baggage mishaps are just bad luck, think again. We're about to break down what actually works and what baggage handlers wish you knew. Because no one talks about what happens after your bag leaves your hands. But we will. Let's get into it. A soft duffel bag with lots of pockets and dangling straps might be great for a weekend drive, but it's a major liability on an airport conveyor belt. Your checked luggage isn't handled gently. It gets slammed, shoved, and squeezed through machines that don't care what's hanging off your suitcase. Straps get caught, zippers jam. And if that happens, your bag gets pulled for a manual inspection, or worse, it gets left behind. Hard shell luggage avoids all of that. It has no loose parts, no outer pouches to snag. It's just a smooth case that slides through without any drama and protects what's inside when it hits the ground hard. Because believe me, it will. If your suitcase isn't built for rough handling, it's not built for check-in. Every suitcase tells a story, but the only one airport security cares about is today's. If you leave old airline tags or stickers on your bag, the automated scanners might pick up the wrong barcode, and sometimes that's exactly what happens. That's how a bag ends up in Dallas when you're headed to Denver. Or worse, it flies solo to Frankfurt while you're still boarding your plane in Philly. All because a faded sticker from last summer's trip to Vegas was never peeled off. It sounds like a fluke, but it happens more often than you think. So before you even leave the house, strip everything old off your suitcase. Every barcode, every single tag. Make it a clean slate. Your bag should scream only one thing: this flight, this airport, and this destination. After a long flight, the last thing you want to do is play Guess That Bag at baggage claim. But that's exactly what happens when your suitcase looks like every other black rectangle spinning on the belt. That's why marking your bag is so important. But not just any marking will do. Forget about that classic ribbon tied to the handle. It might look cute, but it's a disaster in motion. Those loose ends can easily get caught in the conveyor system, and suddenly your bag is getting pulled aside for manual handling. Best case scenario, it's just delayed. Worst case, it never makes it out of the back room. Instead, you should go for something flat and bold. A strip of neon duct tape across the side works well. Or a brightly colored luggage strap that hugs the body of the suitcase. I personally use electrical tape to make a giant X on both sides of my case. It's instantly recognizable and there's zero risk of it snagging. You want to make your suitcase easy to spot, but impossible to jam up the system. Because standing out at the baggage claim shouldn't mean holding up the entire carousel. Most travelers use a lock to feel safe, but if it's the wrong kind, it won't stop theft. All it does is slow down security, until they cut it off. Security agents check about 5% of all checked bags at random. And if your suitcase is locked, they are getting in one way or another. If the lock isn't an approved travel lock, they'll just break it. You won't get a heads up, you won't get a refund, you'll just get a busted zipper and a loose suitcase rolling onto the carousel looking like it got mugged. Officially approved travel locks have a special keyhole that allows agents to open and relock your bag without damaging it. You still get security, but you avoid the risk of your suitcase arriving with busted hardware. Now, it won't stop a professional thief, but it protects you from unnecessary damage. And it keeps you from having to buy a new lock every time you fly. So, unless you enjoy the sound of bolt cutters, stick with a security-friendly option. Nobody ever plans to lose their luggage. But when it happens, the airline's first question is always the same. Can you describe what was inside? And that's the moment where most people freeze. Was the blue shirt in that bag? Or was it in the other one? How many chargers did you pack? What brand was that jacket? This is why snapping a quick photo before you zip your suitcase shut is one of the smartest habits you can build. Just lay everything out, take one clear shot, and you're done. If your bag goes missing or if something gets stolen, that photo becomes your best piece of evidence. It's for the airline, for your insurance claim, and for your own memory. And insurance companies love this. Why? Because it completely removes the guesswork. There are no vague claims, no "I think I packed" statements. There's just proof. It speeds up your case, makes the payout smoother, and shows that you were prepared, not just guessing after the fact. One traveler mentioned their refund went through in just a few days, simply because they had a photo and a basic list of their items. There were no arguments and no delay. Taking 10 seconds to do this now could save you weeks of frustration later. This next one is simple, but people ignore it all the time. Do not put cash, jewelry, electronics, or important documents in your checked bag. No matter how secure your suitcase feels, the cargo hold is not the place for anything you can't afford to lose. More than 2 million checked bags were delayed, lost, or mishandled at major US airports last year alone, and valuables inside are rarely covered in full. Airlines have limits on what they'll pay. Some won't cover cash at all. Others cap their reimbursements far below what your gear is actually worth. And it's not always about theft. Bags get rerouted, luggage ends up sitting in storage rooms overnight, locks get broken, things just disappear. If it matters to you, keep it with you. In your carry-on, within your reach. Because once your suitcase disappears behind that rubber curtain, you won't see it again until the baggage carousel. If you're lucky. Think about that fancy sunscreen, the glass bottle of cologne, the thick body lotion you swore you'd need. Now imagine all of them exploding across your clothes, soaking into your shoes, and seeping through every zipper pouch like a melted disaster. It happens. Cabin pressure changes during the flight. Bags get flipped upside down. Lids pop right off. And even one leaky bottle can ruin everything else you pack. So here's what you do. Seal every single liquid. Use zip-top bags. Get leak-proof travel bottles. And for anything that's high risk, double bag it. Then stick it in the center of your suitcase, cushioned by clothes, far away from anything fragile or valuable. You don't need to bubble wrap your entire toiletry kit. Just respect the laws of physics. Checked luggage gets thrown around like it owes someone money, and your shampoo doesn't stand a chance on its own. You might think that security only cares about your carry-on, but checked luggage has its own long set of banned items. And breaking those rules can get your bag delayed, flagged, or even confiscated. Things like fireworks, fuel canisters, large lithium batteries, or pepper spray are absolute no-goes. Even something that seems innocent, like a camping stove or a souvenir knife, can trigger a full bag inspection and a big red "Do Not Load" tag. And here's the part most people miss. Security doesn't explain this at the airport. You're expected to check the rules before you pack. Thankfully, it's easy to do. You can go to the official travel security website and use their search tool. It's the exact same guide they use at the checkpoints. You can type in anything like essential oils or battery pack, and it tells you instantly whether it's allowed in your carry-on, your check bag, both or neither. And if you're flying internationally, you need to double-check that country's rules too. Some things allowed in one country might be banned elsewhere. You check your bag, you board the plane. You land, and your suitcase doesn't. It happens more than the airlines like to admit. Sometimes the bag is just delayed for a few hours. Other times, it's off on its own separate adventure. Either way, you don't want to be stuck in the same clothes for the next 24 hours. That's why you should always pack one full change of clothes in your carry-on. A shirt, underwear, socks, maybe even something to sleep in. And if you're traveling with kids, split their things between different bags. One mom said that when her son's bag went missing, they were totally fine because she and her husband had each packed a full outfit for him in their own suitcases. It's such a small thing, but it can turn a lost bag disaster into just a mild inconvenience, especially if your layover turns into an unexpected overnight stay. When you fly, pack for the trip, but prepare your carry-on like the worst-case scenario might actually happen. Everyone says to get to the airport early, and they're right. But when it comes to checking your bag, arriving too early isn't always better. Here's why. The sooner your bag goes behind the counter, the longer it sits there unsupervised. More time in the system means more chances for it to get misplaced, mishandled, or yes, even opened. Baggage handlers have even shared this online. The first bags that are checked are usually the first bags loaded onto the plane, and they're sometimes the first to be pulled off if the plane's weight needs to be adjusted. Meanwhile, bags that are checked closer to departure stay in the constant flow and get handled less. Of course, you don't want to cut it too close, but if you have time to spare, maybe wait until you're closer to the check-in cutoff, about 45 minutes before your flight boards. It shortens the time your luggage is out of your sight and reduces the odds of it wandering off. Because sometimes, being last in really does mean being first out, and getting messed with a lot less. Once your suitcase disappears behind that check-in counter, you're basically flying blind, unless you decide to track it yourself. Most major airlines now let you follow your bag in real time through their apps. Companies like Delta, United, and American all show you when your luggage is scanned, when it's loaded, and even which carousel it'll land on. It's free, and it's surprisingly accurate. But if you want complete peace of mind, slip a tracking device like an Apple AirTag or a Samsung Smart Tag into your bag. These tiny GPS tags sync with your phone and show you exactly where your suitcase is, even if the airline has no idea. One traveler shared that when her bag didn't arrive, the airline couldn't find it, but her phone showed it was still sitting back at the departure airport. She walked up to the airline staff, showed them the map on her phone, and they found it within minutes. Just make sure you tuck the tag under a liner or inside a zippered pouch. It's small, it's legal to fly with, and it could save you from a total luggage mystery. A suitcase that looks expensive is an open invitation. And thieves at airports aren't just guessing, they're scanning for targets. That's where luggage covers come in. A snug, stretchy fabric wrap can make your sleek designer bag look generic, even boring. And that's a good thing. It's not just about theft either. Covers also protect your bag against scratches, spills, and that black conveyor belt grime that no one ever talks about. Plus, they help you spot your suitcase from a mile away, without using anything that could get stuck in the system. Just be sure to choose the right type. You want no dangling straps, no metal hooks, nothing that can catch. Go for a spandex or polyester cover that hugs the suitcase tight, and make sure it's made for checked luggage, not just as a simple rain shield. Some travelers use those full-body plastic wrapping services, which can cost $15 to $20. It's a common habit on international flights. But here's the catch. That kind of wrap might be doing more harm than good. Aside from the environmental waste, it can make your suitcase harder for handlers to move, less mobile, and much more difficult to load. Everyone remembers to tag the outside of their suitcase. But what happens if that tag gets ripped off during transit? That's why you should always include a piece of paper inside your bag. On it, write your name, your phone number, your email, and your final destination address. Some travelers even add their return flight details in case the bag gets lost on the way home. It's a simple backup that can make all the difference. Because when your luggage is found but has no ID on the outside, this little slip of paper can be the one thing that gets it back to you faster and with far fewer headaches. These final tips aren't from some travel blog. They come straight from the people who actually load your bags. Often before sunrise in the rain and with no time to baby your $300 suitcase. So, if you want your bag to survive the trip, listen to what they wish every traveler knew. First, get a four-wheeled bag, period. If it rolls, they'll roll it. If it doesn't, it gets tossed. That's not to be mean, it's just physics. Four wheels make their job easier, and your bag gets treated much better when it glides instead of drags. Good fabric beats cheap plastic. High-quality bags with strong internal frames hold up much better. Most hard-shell bags, however, will crack, dent, or split open after just a few trips. The only real exception might be military-grade cases, but those are more like gear vaults than luggage. Zippers matter more than you think. When cheap zippers burst, your clothes end up scattered all over the belly of a plane. Baggage handlers will try to scoop everything back in, but that cargo floor isn't exactly clean. Your clothes might come back smelling like fish, dog pee, or worse. And often, everything will be coated in a fine gray dust from aluminum parts rubbing together during the flight. And please, stop shrink wrapping your bags. The handlers hate it. The plastic wrap locks the wheels and makes the suitcase impossible to slide. So instead of rolling it gently, they have to toss it, swing it, or drag it just to get it loaded onto the plane. Always use a travel-approved lock. Never use zip ties or other padlocks. If security needs to open your bag and they can't, it gets pulled from the line and possibly left behind. Occasionally, a supervisor will let them cut the lock, but you won't be reimbursed for the damage. Approved locks won't stop a determined thief, but they do prevent zippers from bursting open and keep your stuff secure enough to make it through the system. Don't overpack. Just don't do it. Bags that explode open at baggage claim almost always have one thing in common: too much stuff jammed inside a cheap bag. Weak zippers, low-quality fabric, and overstuffing is a recipe for disaster. When those bags blow, your personal belongings go flying everywhere. Also, don't stuff the front zipper pocket. If it bulges out, it will catch on something. That's how bags get torn on conveyor belts or jammed in the cargo hold. That pocket is for flat items only. Anything bulky belongs inside the main compartment. And finally, never, ever put your keys or medications in your checked bag. If your suitcase gets lost or delayed, you're stuck. And no one is going to pry open a cargo hold just to get them back for you. These aren't just travel tips. They're survival tactics for your luggage. They are small habits that make a big difference. Your bag might not thank you, but your future self at the baggage claim definitely will. May your suitcase always land when you do.